Well, hello there. My name is Blade, and today I'll be reviewing Sinners. Gonna be starting off this review by saying, bitch, this movie ate. Am I willing to acknowledge that, no movie is perfect? Yes. But this will be an extremely complimentary review. So, Sinners is the not directorial debut of Ryan Coogler. He's done several other things from Creed to Black Panther, but I consider this his first, a look at it into his actual artistry because this is his first original film. Like everything he's directed up until this point is a spin-off of an existing IP or literally like an existing IP of like Marvel movies. So this is his first, first original screenplay, original film, and he did not come to play. So if you've been living under a rock, you haven't heard of Sinners yet, allow me to tell you the synopsis of the film, which is trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their Mississippi hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. So, a horror movie. However, I would say this is much more than a horror movie. It definitely genre blends, but allow me to get into all of that. First, starting off with my spoiler free opinions. First and foremost, as always, I like to touch upon the acting, and the acting in this movie is stellar. Main characters, all great actors, everyone contributed amazing performances, and even side characters who have very little screen time, like everybody in this movie extremely well acted. Particularly, I want to mention Michael B. Jordan, who plays the two lead twins, Miles Caton, who plays their cousin, Wanumi Masako, who's like one of the lovers of the twins, as well as Haley Steinfeld and Delroy Lindo. All these people who I'd say are like a little bit more the main cast. I mean, across the board, like great acting, super dynamic, funny, dramatic, sad, angry, like all of it, and all of it acted extremely well. Which brings me to my first point. Um, this movie is about twins. Michael B. Jordan plays twins. And oh my god, the acting from Michael B. Jordan is crazy that not only is he playing like okay, like he's playing two people, right? And we know it's Michael B. Jordan playing both of these people. But the way he made it feel so much like I was actually watching two separate people. Like these twins, because at a certain point in the movie, there's not a lot to like distinguish between the two of them, but they just have so much of their own presence and their own characteristics and their own just vibe that it felt like I was watching two separate people and not like I was watching one performance from one actor. It felt like two separate performances. So like brava. Additionally, on the twins point, there is so many scenes in this movie that like me, I'm a small filmmaker, but still me as a film like as someone a lover of film and a filmmaker myself, I can't comprehend how they filmed some of these scenes because normally when there's an actor playing two people and they're in the same frame, there's little tricks and stuff that are done so it looks real, right? And oftentimes that involves them not crossing over, but there are so many scenes where they're like interacting with each other and they're just doing stuff where I'm like, I don't understand how they filmed that, and it looks so real and so authentic. It's crazy. So, as I mentioned, this is the first original screenplay from Ryan Coogler, and I just have to commend the originality of this story. I think in recent times, specifically, oh my God, specifically in horror, we've been getting a lot of original ideas, but we do live in a time where everything is seemingly like a reboot or some type of rehashing. But this screenplay is so original. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some like things that we're familiar with at play, but the overall story is so original, so well developed, and honestly, this movie made me feel like cinema. Like, it was so like it's the type of movie you watch that reminds you like why you love movies. Like, it great theater experience. I left feeling so like good. Like, I left the movie theater like like it was just so original and so compelling, and it wasn't afraid to like touch its toe in different genres, and just like truly impeccable work. Which brings me to my next point. The cinematography and the directing went off. Like, this movie looks good. Certain camera choices and things just had me like, oh my god, like it just like it I don't want to like overhype the movie, but there is just so much to like and appreciate about this movie, including my next point, the music, the score, and the soundtrack were there was so many points while I was watching the movie where I was getting down in my theater seat and like and I had my stank face on. There's this pretty pivotal music related scene in the film, and I was just like, oh my god, this beat is nasty. Like, it was so like I hadn't had like felt like that in a movie in a long time, where I was getting down in my seat. I didn't care who was looking at me. Now, there are some, like criticisms I can give this movie, but they do require me to get into a little bit of spoiler territory. So this is your warning to turn back now, and I suggest you do. Honestly, I would really recommend you watch this movie for yourself. Like, it's really good. So, let's get the elephant out of the room as I discuss the originality of the screenplay. This is a vampire movie. And what I really appreciated about this vampire story is that it was somehow, both at the same time, and a really original vampire story and a really original story all around. But the vampires were like traditional. Like, it was the very traditional idea of like they have to be allowed into places, like garlic, holy water, stake through the heart, silver. Like, it was like an extremely traditional, idea of vampires, but the story was still super original. Like, it's so the twins left home to Chicago where they stole a whole bunch of alcohol and then came back to Mississippi with the money and the alcohol that they've stolen and are opening a juke joint, which we learn earlier on in the film through like I guess you could say a prologue. Not really. It's just like an opening little lore dump that there is people who can play music so well and are so like musically talented that they can cross the threshold of like life and death and conjure spirits from the past and the future, and that attracts the vampires like to the juke joint. Like, it that already that little description, like, on its own, like, that is so original. And where they go with the story, I thought was great, because I've already said spoiler alert, but there's a lot of ways this movie could have ended, like that were more obvious choices, but I really liked where it went with, first of all, one of the twins gets bit and changed, and so that adds a dynamic, an interesting dynamic. But I like that where it ended was, you would think after going through this experience, that their cousin, who is the one who plays the music and brings these vampires forward, would probably like give up music and not want to touch it anymore after that harrowing experience. But we in a I wouldn't say a post credit scene. It kind of plays throughout the credits. We discover that he actually lived out his whole entire life and still played music. And we also discover that the twin who got bitten, who was perceived to have died earlier, is actually still alive. And I know that probably would bother some people, but I kind of liked that because it was very, this I won't spoil, even though this is the spoiler section. I think, because I do think this is the type of movie you should experience for yourself. The implications of all of those choices and what they represent and the message it's trying to leave you with, I thought was really powerful and interesting. So I don't know. I just can't say more about the originality of the screenplay and how much I appreciated the choices that it made. On that note, I so this movie is pretty much an all like a black cast. Like there's very rarely any white people in the film besides some of the vampires and a couple Asian characters. And so I think when you look at a movie like that and with the setting of the movie, you cause it's in 1930, it's like early 1930s. I was going to say 32, but I'm not 100% sure if it was 1932. But so kind of obviously there's going to be a race element and a race conversation there, but I really enjoyed the specific angle because it wasn't just, your run of the mill like segregation and civil rights movement. Not to say those things aren't important, like not at all. But if we're going to discuss those things, they should have purpose and they should have some sort of nuance. But it was not it that was not the angle of it at all, and I really enjoyed the angle that it took on, which was pretty much everyone besides some clan members that are in the movie. Um, every single different different race group in the movie all have endured some sort of oppression, and the vampires, the lead vampire played by Jack O'Connell is Irish, and I ended up finding out a lot about what happened in Ireland that I did not know previously. So it was really interesting that he's the antagonist because he's trying to convert these other characters to join him as vampires. So obviously that's what makes him the antagonist, but his motivations weren't just simply to turn more people into vampires. I What happened is he the vampires in this movie have like a hive mind. So once you're turned, they're able to access like other people's like other memories and information from the other people that are also vampires in this group. So we learn that this whole juke joint situation is just a big ruse for some clan members to come and kill these black people. So the reason he's wanting to come and turn them all is like in his mind, he's like, I'm saving you and we can have like community together. These people are gonna come and kill you. So I just thought that was so interesting because it was like pitting these two groups against each other, and since we're looking at it from the protagonist angle, they're the antagonists, but the motivations behind what they were doing wasn't necessarily like negative, and it wasn't the typical conversation we get on race. And it seemed like the movie was trying to discuss like how that like just the different forms of oppression these groups have endured and how they like weave together. I don't know. It was just a really interesting. It's just a really interesting way to look at it. And that's why I say I just can't speak enough on how original this script is, both in like the literal story, but also the ideas that it was putting on the table. Great ending in this movie. I mean, I definitely think I thought it was going to go somewhere else. I think some other people might want something different out of it, but I didn't mind it. One of the brothers does die. The one who didn't turn obviously does die after he essentially waits out till the morning to kill the clan members that were gonna come and kill him. So he gets, the edge over on them now having that information. And obviously, I enjoyed that. Like, who wouldn't enjoy that? Like, fuck racism. But I liked that I didn't want him to die, but then as he's dying, his lover and their baby that we had learned died at birth. He meets him on the other side. So I thought that was quite beautiful. And honestly, it is sad that he died, but that honestly might have been the best outcome for his character because there's a lot of unresolved things in that with the lover. So I think that actually resolved a lot of that. So even though it is sad, there's like a beautiful like tragedy to it, kind of. Now, in fairness, I shall discuss some of the, I guess, like negative aspects of this movie. Mostly being that there is a little bit of an inconsistency towards the end because there's this very small core group of people left who are being persecuted by the vampires. And so there's only like 5 or 6 bodies that should be like accounted for. But then when the vampires eventually do make their way in and start attacking, they're like tackling a whole bunch of people, or I should say not a whole bunch of people, but tackling people and like killing them. But it's like who are these bodies if it's not the main group, like, and like the only confirmed people that we know, like for sure the only people in the building. So that's a little bit of like I wonder what happened there, like where did these extra people come from? So that's a little bit of a like a how did that happen? Um, but honestly, I mean, besides that, I don't really have a lot of negative things to say, and that one discrepancy does not diminish the, honestly, dare I say, like, cinematic achievement that this film is. So, for my closing thoughts on Sinners, is that this is 100% a movie I would recommend. I think it's a movie, even if you listened into my spoiler free section, that I think you should watch for yourself if it interests you. I would 100% say it's like the first, like, actually, like, great release of 2025. I can definitely see this going on to become a classic. I'm glad it's doing super well. I'm really happy for Ryan Coogler, and I also think the deal that he cut with this movie, where he'll own the rights to it in 25 years, is really cool. Like, I just think overall Ryan Coogler should be really proud of his creation. I think all the cast should be proud of their creation. Like, this is a really really well made movie, and I don't think we've seen, at least in the last like couple of months, a movie come out with this level of just like cinematic like it's really I can't say enough. It's really good. Definitely watch it if you have the chance to. So, those are my thoughts, comments, and opinions on Sinners. Of course, there will be a Let's Talk About this month. There's one every month, this on the second to last Friday of the month. And if you haven't had a chance yet, my performance art film, A Portrait of Healing, is out now on my YouTube and Vimeo. So if you'd like to support me and check out my own creations, definitely give that a look. And I will see you in the next one.